To our dear Bachrim of the Yeshiva G'dayla Miami, we began to learn the Maimer of the Tzemach Tzedek, Mitzvas, Hashbosas, Chometz, Vachilas, Matza, on page 44 in Derech Mitzvosecha. This Maimer discusses the concept of Matza, and that Matza is called Michlo de Mehimnusa, the food of faith. And as we know, the Zohar tells us that Matza has two names, Michlo da Asvasa and Michlo de Mehimnusa, food of faith and food of cure. Food of faith is the more common one that we associate the matzah with. And that when a person eats matzah, as we see in this Maimer, that when a person eats matzah, it increases in their emunah, increases in their faith to the Eibishter. It's also called Michel das Vasa, food of cure, because when someone eats matzah, it brings upon them cure begashmis. As it's known in the story of the Alter Rebbe, one of the Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe used to take the matzah from the Alter Rebbe and would grind them. There was a doctor, and he would give it to his patients as a cure, as a medicine for their illness. And that would bring upon them the cure that they need. So matzah has the name Michlo de Meimnusa, food of faith, and that's primarily what the Maimer is focused on. And we're going to begin this Maimer. We learned it already in Yeshiva, the first part, but we're going to do Chazar on it. And then we're going to continue with the Maimer to understand what's behind the matzah and what it brings upon Bnei Yisrael when they eat the matzah. So we're on page 44. We're going to begin the first paragraph, and then we're going to skip over to the second paragraph as we have done in Yeshiva too. Inyan Chag HaMatzos. The concept of Chag HaMatzos, Tzemach Tzedek is quoting from the Chinuch, is Lahashbis Chometz Be'erev Pesach Shenemar Tashbisu. It is to get rid of the Chometz on Erev Pesach, as it says in the Pasuk, Tashbisu Sa'oir Mibotechem, that you have to get rid of all Chometz from your house. And the second mitzvah is Lechil Matza Beleil Tezvov Benisin, Shenemar Bo'erev Teichlu Matzis. The mitzvah is, Mitzvah Yud, is to eat matzah on the night of Tezvov Nisan, which is the night of Pesach. As it says in the Pasuk, Bo'erev, in the evening, Teichlu Matzis, you should eat matzahs. The first paragraph, as we explained in Yeshiva, has a lot of Kabbalistic terms of the concept of matzah, of chometz, of what's going on Api Kabbalah. But we're going to move on to the second paragraph where it discusses the concept of matzah and emunah. To be able to understand clearly what is written in the first paragraph about drawing this great giluyim, this great revelation of the Eibishter to us, the aura that comes to us, the revelation that comes to us through the matzah. As it's known what it says in Zohar, in Parshas Vayetze, Daf Kuf Nun Zayin. And here's where we begin the Maimer. Matzah is called food of faith. That through eating matzah, our emunah will be strengthened in the hearts of all Yidden. And so the Chinuch write in the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, of telling over the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, that this is a tremendous fundamental concept in our Torah, in our faith. As it is a great miracle in the novelty of the world. Is there any other Eibishter in the world that has everything in his hands and in his power, that he's able to change the trajectory of anything that's happening at any given time? As he did in Mitzrayim, that he changed nature, the nature of the world, he changed for us, for Bnei Yisrael. So the Chinuch, what the Chinuch writes in the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, and what the Tzemach Tzedek is quoting over here, the Chinuch is of the opinion that when we discuss the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and as well as when we eat the matzah on Pesach, that the story that is told through the matzah, and the story that is told through the Sipur of Yetzias Mitzrayim, it brings us to the faith, to strengthen our emunah, to strengthen our faith in the Eibishter. In simple terms, when we discuss the story with our family, we look back at what happened thousands of years ago. that the Yidden were enslaved to the Mitzrayim in Egypt. They were in Avdus and Avodas Perach. They had tremendous hardships and the burden of slavery upon them. And Hashem basically halted the laws of nature. He made tremendous miracles for Bnei Yisrael. So when we tell over this story to our family, we tell it over to ourselves, this increases our faith, our emunah in the Eibishter. Because logically, rationally, when we tell over a story, it brings us closer to that emunah. It brings us closer to that reality. That is the chinuch's opinion. Ve'im shekosav dvarav eile al pi pashut. And as the chinuch wrote his words in the simple meaning of it, as we explained, the hainu sha'idei ha-mitzvah shenasa b'zikor nitzias Mitzrayim tikva b'levavenu ha'emunah hazois, that through the eating matzah, or through the mitzvahs that happen, that we remind ourselves of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, it etches into our hearts the faith in the Eibishter. And why is it as such? Because through the actions, our hearts are drawn through the actions. And a person reacts to his activities, which means, as Chassidus explains in various areas, that even if a person is not up to that emunah, a person doesn't believe in what happened, a person doesn't know about what happened, but when you learn about it, when you discuss it, when you become one with it, it makes your heart believe. In other words, the chinuch holds that through the discussion of the story, we come to the emunah, we come to the faith of believing in the Eibishter. The reason why I'm stressing on this, that it's the chinuch's opinion, is because we're going to see in a moment, what is the opinion of the Zohar and Alpi Nister, according to the Pnimis de Kinyonim in Chassidus, in Torah, what Matza brings upon Bnei Yisrael. So just to sum up what the chinuch says, the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, whatever we do in any mitzvah, that we remember what happened to us, to our forefathers, as we say, B'chol dor v'dor v'chol yom v'yom chai avodim liroy, says atzmoi kilu yotzo hayoim mitzrayim, that a person has to say in every generation and every day, he has to think that he himself went out of Mitzrayim and that the Eibishter caused all the miracles to him. So that brings upon a person, even if he is not up to it and he doesn't understand it, he's not one with the faith. But if you learn it again, through the regurgitating of the story, learning it over and over again, you become one with the story. You're drawn to it. Chassidus brings a mashal that if a person is not a chazdon, he's not a kind person, but he acts in a kind way, through the abundance of such activity, he becomes a chazdon. He changes his nature. And likewise could be the other way. If a person is a tzaddik, if a person is really a righteous man, but he's involved in inyanim which are bilti ritzuyim, which are inappropriate and improper behavior, so even if he is, or he was, a very righteous person, but if his activity and the consistency of the activity will change the person, so too through the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, it brings us closer to the faith. That is the opinion of the chinuch. Continues the Tzemach Tzedek, Mikol Makoim. Nonetheless, Kvar Ekdamti Lecho b'Mitzvas Milah, I have already introduced to you in the mitzvah of Milah, Ki Yoraisa Sosim Degalia. The Torah is made up of the revealed part of the Torah and the more cryptic part of the Torah. Vehu kosav anira mitzvazu benigla. And what the Chinuch wrote, the Sefer HaChinuch wrote, what seems to be the nigla part of Torah, the nigla part of the mitzvah, the revealed aspect of the mitzvah. V'alpia nistor, but on the esoteric part, and the more hidden part of the Torah, the cryptic message, hine be'emes ha'matzo yesh bo koyach hazeh l'chazik ha'emunah, milvad hazikorin uchal derech ze inyan ha'agada. The matzah itself, just by consuming and eating the matzah, it has the power to strengthen our emunah besides for the remembering of the story that happened in Mitzrayim. And the same thing is with the Haggadah Shel Pesach. When you say over the Haggadah Shel Pesach, even if you don't know the words that you're saying, it brings you to greater emunah in the Eibishter. Which also, logically, these two things align. You have on one hand, the more nigla part of Torah, the more logical and rational part of Torah is that when you learn something and you understand and you comprehend it, you become closer to it. That's the nigla part. That's the logical and the rational part. Then there is the part in Torah which is the nistar, the more cryptic message, which means it's a little bit harder for a person to really attach himself to. But therefore it's greater also, it's more edel, it's more delicate, it has a greater impact. The matzah itself, just by eating, taking matzah, not knowing anything that happened, nothing to do with the matzah. You don't even know what a matzah is. But just eating the matzah on Pesach, that in itself, just the physical eating matzah, that in itself brings emunah to the person. Which is obviously a far greater, in a sense, a greater level than the story, the zikaron of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And this is why the Rebbe kocht, on a side note, the Rebbe kocht in the Mitzvah of Matza, before Pesach, to give out matzah to every single Yid, that every single Yid should eat matzah on the night of Pesach. You can ask, what's the big deal? Why does every Yid, not every Yid in the world knows the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim? They don't even know the story of what's behind the matzah. If they don't know what's behind the matzah, why should they eat it? But the emes is that just them consuming the matzah, eating the matzah that night of Pesach, increases their emunah, increases their faith in the Eibishter, whether they know about it or not. It reminds me of a story about another mitzvah of the Rebbe, mitzvah tefillin, that the Rebbe discussed in one of the Fabrengens, that by going to a Yid and asking a Yid, are you Jewish? That in itself causes the person to awaken within himself this concept, am I Jewish? And it awakens his neshama, and then he asks for more. It wants, because the neshama is thirsty for Yiddishkeit. So this idea of the mitzvah of tefillin, but mitzvah of matzah that we're discussing here in the Maimer, just the mere eating of the matzah brings emunah upon those who eat it. And this is the two aspects in the Torah, nigla the Torah, the gal yisha Torah, and the sasam sheba Torah, the ruchni is the part of the pnimi is the part of the Torah. And then Tzemach Tzedek concludes this paragraph with va'gal yisha Torah kefi asasim kemoy halavush leguf, the revealed part of the Torah and the concealed part of the Torah, the esoteric part of the Torah, is like a garment to the body. It's not two opposites. It's not two things that don't match up or don't align, but rather it's like a lavush to the body. And on every single level, it's like a lavush, a garment on the body, or the body to the soul, and in the soul itself from nefesh to ruach, and ruach to neshama, and onwards in the madregas, adin ketz. Because in every single thing, there is a body and a soul. There is the outside, the revealed aspect, the one that we see, the one that we understand right away, and there is the deeper part. There is the neshama, the soul of the mitzvah, the soul of the message, the cryptic part, that sometimes takes a little bit more faith to understand. In order to understand, so we have two opinions. We have the opinion of the chinuch, and we have the opinion of the zoya. The opinion of the chinuch is that the story told through eating matzah, the story told through saying the Haggadah, the story told through any mitzvah that is associated with Yetzias Mitzrayim, through the story, through remembering what happened, it brings us to emunah. That's the opinion of the chinuch. The opinion of the zoyar is that through actual eating matzah, it brings us to greater faith, greater emunah in the Eibishter. The question is, what is emunah? What is this faith that we are reaching? What is this faith that we are getting to through the eating of the matzah, or through the story being told through the matzah? What is the actual emunah? And this is what's going to be discussed in this coming paragraphs. So, Pirush ve'inyan emunah mai, to understand what is the emunah that we believe in. The concept is not that we believe that the Eibishter gives sustenance to the world, gives life to the world alone. This we don't call emunah, this we don't call faith. Because any person could understand it, could grasp this concept. Even though we do not see it physically, it's as if he sees it with his own eyes. And just like one doesn't need faith for the life within his body, as he sees his flesh and blood alive, because them alone, without any life, is doimim. It's inanimate, it doesn't move. It's as if he sees literally with his eye the spirit, the life that is enclosed within his body, within his flesh, to give him life. So even though he has never seen the idea of what the nefesh is, what the soul is, and as it says in the pasuk, that from my flesh I will see God and godliness. So before we continue, just to elaborate, as it's going to continue within the paragraph to discuss this a little bit more. To believe in the Eibishter does not mean that we're believing in the fact that the Eibishter gives life to the world. Why isn't it as such? It's because every person understands that the Eibishter gives life to the world. We're going to see in a moment that it's rational, that even Goyim could understand that. Every person in the world, any human being that has moyach bekot kodre, that has a brain and a skull, could understand this concept that there's an Eibishter that gives life to the world. It doesn't take faith. It's rational. It's logical. Just like we see in our own body. We see in our own body that without life, the body is non-functioning. It's doimim. It's inanimate. It doesn't move. So it means that there is something called a body, something called a soul, a life. Everything in the world that the Eibishter created is made up of these two elements, a guf and a neshama. The guf, the body, and the chayis that's within the body. Everything has that. And when it says in the pasuk, that from my own being I will see I will see God and godliness. So usually we reference this pasuk, and when Mashiach will come, we'll see that even our bodies will understand godliness. Even our bodies will understand the Eibishter. Not just our neshamas will be in tune with Elikus. Not only our neshamas will be in tune with godliness, but our bodies will actually understand. We will be able to relate to it in a gashmizdika level. That's reserved for when Mashiach will come. But there is a simple meaning to the pasuk. Umipsari, from my own flesh, echazeh elikah. I will be able to understand, I will be able to envision, and be able to see godliness. I will be able to see how the Eibishter works. How the Eibishter works within the world. And this is what he's saying over here. Just like he sees his own life within his body, which his body is a small body, guf katan, it's an individual body. So too he will see from your body, from the demonstration of your own body, of how you live, that there is a life within your body that's giving you sustenance on a day-to-day basis. You will see how the Eibishter works. That the Eibishter gives the same chayis to the world, which the world is just a greater, larger body than you. As the world in itself has a finite measurement to it as well. In other words, it's just a larger body. It's also a guf. They mitzad themselves, every element in this world that the Eibishter created is doimim. Doimim means it does not have any chayis, it doesn't have any life in it. But yet, Vehem Chaim. Yet we look around the world, we see that it has life. V'yesh bechol echod ve'echod chayis, and each thing in this world has life within it. Bechol echod ve'echod chayis, it has life within it. Koyach hatzemeach ba'oretz, ve'koyach hatnoah b'galgalim. We see that the ground has the power of vegetation, which means it has life within it. And the stars and all the planets have the power, the koyach hatnuah, the koyach of movement. That the sun and the moon and everything revolves around, comes around, makes it circle around the world. That everything has chayis within it. Vahainu, what does this mean? It's through the fact that the Eibishter gives it chayis and gives it life for them to be able to continue doing what they need to do. Just like our neshama gives our body chayis, so too Elikus gives chayis to everything that exists in this world. For this we don't need to have any faith. And even the goyim and their scholars also understand this. So this is not emunah. This is called yediyah. This is called knowledge in Elikus, knowing that the Eibishter exists and knowing that the Eibishter gives chayis to everything that exists in this world. So what is the emunah which we as Yidden are meant to have in the Eibishter? The emunah that was uniquely given to the Yidden, as it says in the pasuk, the first commandment in Aseres Adibris, I am the Eibishter who took you out of Eretz Mitzrayim, Keloimar, Ulazeis Tamin Bishleimus Mitzvosech. Rambam v'Ramban zal, she mitzvah be'emuno, b'sefer Mitzvos Semen Aleph, Mitzvos Shemona Ramban, Semen Aleph, Sefer Amad Perek Aleph Milchus Yisrael Torah. Lazois Tamin Bishleimus Mitzvosech means, in this we should have faith in the Eibishter and the wholesomeness of his existence. What does that mean? Hilahamin, it is to believe in the Eibishter shemitziuso yizbarich hurom v'nizgov l'maylo maylo mibchino zu sh'onu roim shemechayis olam. It is far greater than this concept that we see, that we understand and grasp with our own eyes, that the Eibishter gives sustenance to the world. The emunah is that the Eibishter is far greater than that. The emunah is that the Eibishter is exalted. He's far greater and above the, so to speak, connection to the world, or to everything that exists. B'fchinas koyach hapoyel shebenifal, that the Eibishter gives chayis to the world. B'fchinas koyach hapoyel shebenifal, which, as we explained in Yeshiva, that the Alter Rebbe brings down a Shai Yichud V'emunah in the first two prakim, and in the subsequent prakim as well, that the Eibishter created the world yesh me'ayin. He created the world something from nothing. And the Alter Rebbe explains that there is a difference between yesh me'yesh and yesh me'ayin. When you create something from something, which means if you take, for example, you take wood and you chop them up and you build a beautiful piece of furniture, you didn't really create something. You have restructured something. You have reconfigured something. You have put something together. Yes, this beautiful piece of furniture was never here before, and now it's beautiful, it displays beautifully, but it existed beforehand. That is yesh me'yesh. And it's the same thing if a person take an artist. He takes a canvas and he takes a bunch of different colors of paint and he paints a beautiful painting that costs thousands or maybe millions of dollars. Yes, that painting never existed before. That form of a painting never existed before. But the painting itself is all yesh me'yesh. The paint was there before. The paint came from, well, today they do it in the modern day. They have technology of how they make paint. But in the olden days, when they used to make it out of herbs, it existed. And all you did was reconfigure or reform the existence into another existence. And that is a yesh me'yesh. And therefore, what do we see? When a person makes a piece of furniture, or when an artist makes a beautiful painting, if they don't sign their name on that piece of furniture or on that painting, no one would ever know that that person made that painting or that person made that furniture. Why? Because there is no connection between the maker and that is being made. Because that is being made existed before the maker put it together. But it's not so when it comes to Yesh Me'ayin. When you create something from nothing, the maker has to be involved in his creation, has to be involved in that he's making. And the Alter Rebbe brings a dugma from Kriyas Yamsuf and also from Zrikas Even. If you take, for example, a rock, the natural teva, the natural nature of a rock is that a rock goes down. The gravity pulls it down to the ground. But yet, what do we see? When a person picks up the rock and he throws it up in the air, we see that it ascends, it accelerates upwards. You could ask yourself, how is that possible? How is it that the rock is going up when its nature is to go down? The answer is that the person created something new. He put in a power, a koyach within the rock that makes it move up. The moment that koyach ceases to exist, the moment that koyach stops, that's the moment that the rock begins to descend. That's the moment that the rock stops going up and comes down. Because that koyach that exists in the moment that the boirei, the creator, is not attached to his bria, to his creation, that's the moment that it goes back to its original form of nature, or its original course, and that is that the rock goes down. So it has to be koyach ha-poyel shebenifal. The poyel, which means the Eibishter, the doer, has to be involved in the nifal and that is being done. That's what Yesh Me'ayin, that's how Yesh Me'ayin works. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to exist. Because when the Eibishter creates something from nothing, something has to give it chayis. Today we can understand it in such simple terms. Once upon a time they didn't have electronics and technology, so it was much more difficult to understand this concept. But today we know that if you have no battery in your phone won't work. Your phone has to have battery. And in order for it to have battery, you have to plug it into the wall. And if you decide that my phone exists, my phone is here, I have my phone, I could use it without battery. You could try. But once that battery dies, once there is no more connection to its original source of where it got its chayes, it's not going to work anymore. Because it needs to be connected to its source in order for it to work. And the same is true with everything in this world. Being that its creation, it is Yesh Me'ayin, ex nihilo in English, it has to be connected to its creator. And this concept, and we're going to conclude with this thought for today, and this concept that the Eibishter gives life to the world and to everything that exists, this is all through the Eibishter's speech, so to speak. But what is the Dvar Havaya? So we say it in Pasach Eliyahu that Malchus is Peh, Torah Sheba'al Peh Korin Lo. Malchus is Peh. The Eibishter, in his Midas, in the 10 Midas that we attribute to the Eibishter, starting from Chochmah down to Malchus, we know that Malchus is Leisli Megamei Klum. Malchus doesn't have really a function for it itself. Malchus, its function is revelation. Malchus in English is kingship. It's when the king comes out in his glory. He comes to see the nation. It's not really the king in a sense of who he is as a personal individual, but rather as his connection to the nation. What connects him to the other people. That's what the function of Malchus is. That idea is the mouth. The mouth that we have, or the mouth, or the Dvar Havaya when we're talking about the Eibishter, is revelation. Take a person is compiled of so many different attributes. He has his intellectual capacity, he has emotional capacity, he has different ways that he could, within himself, reach great heights. But that would have nothing to do with anybody on the outside. The moment he opens up his mouth, that's when there is revelation. Then people know what's on the inside. As they say, on a gleiche Wertel, it says in Pirkei Avos, Siyog l'chochma shtika. that the fence for wisdom is silence. I heard once from one of my Magidi Shiurim, they said that Siag L'chachma Shtika, what's the fence for wisdom? Is silence. Why? Because until you open up your mouth, everybody knows, nobody knows what's on the inside, but once a person opens up his mouth, then people know already what's on the inside, and it's a whole different ballgame. But this is what I heard from one of my Megiddo Shiurim. He said, Siog lachachma shtika. The fence for the wisdom is silence. But what's the wisdom alone? The wisdom in itself is knowing how to speak, and what to say, and when to say it, and why to say something. But the idea behind it is, the mouth is Malchus, is revelation. It's kingship. It's the connection. And that is what we're trying to express over here, is explaining what the Tzemach Tzedek brought in earlier, that the Eibishter fills the world with Memali Kolamin. This concept of Memali Kolamin is all about the Eibishter's revelation to the world, which is the lowest of the spheres. It's the lowest level of the Eibishter's ability, so to speak. It's not the Eibishter's Akol Yoch, the Eibishter is able to do everything, but his furthest away from what the essence of Elikus is. Malchus is revelation, and with that little bit of Elikus, that's how he created the world, and that is what gives sustenance to the world, as we're going to see in the following shiur in Bezos Hashem. Take care, and as we are mispalel for Klal Yisrael, and specifically for Mordechai Yudlei ben Rivka, we wish that everybody who needs a refuah shlema should have a speedy recovery in these difficult times, and may we be all zeicha to the coming of Mashiach, may it be speedily in our days. Take care.